All right, perfect. So we'll go with Megan first. So, okay, we first want to introduce, the fact that Osceola County, I mean, not only was it the first school district in the state of Florida to make heart screenings mandatory, but it was the first county of its size in the entire country to do something like this. So this is why we want to highlight what you guys have done, just how much work went into doing this, and how many lives it's saving, which we obviously have an example of. So let's start off with Megan. Megan, why don't you just introduce yourself and then kind of talk about how you heard about who we play for, since this kind of started with you in Osceola.
So my name's Megan McKenna, and I was the athletic trainer at Osceola High School for 13 years. I just recently left, but helping usher in this program has been a big pride and joy moment for me. So my story kind of starts with when I was in college at USF back in January of 2007. We had a football player who passed away suddenly while in the weight room. So there I was. He was 19 years old. He passed away. There I am, a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid witnessing somebody else lose their life. So it impacted me. I left USF. I was at Osceola working there and seeing all these kids come and go and play. And while I looked calm and cool on the sidelines, I was always thinking worst case scenario, like, oh, okay, what's going to happen to this kid? So maybe selfishly, I was like, how can I help ease my mind and find out if anybody has some unknown condition? So I got on good old Google and started looking up all these different programs or trying to find programs. And I was shocked to find that there was no programs that really offered low cost, efficient EKGs to high school athletes. And then I stumbled upon who we play for. I shot Evan an email like, hey, I see you guys are providing this service for kids, and this is something that I'd like to bring to our school. So that was in, I think, 2018. So he got in contact with me. I brought it up to my athletic director, so Jim Bird at the time. I said, hey, we got this guy. He wants to come in, do EKGs. What do you think about it? And he was like, let's do it. Let's do what we can to protect the kids. So we brought it in summer of 2018. I think back then we had like 80 kids who came for like a trial run. And in that trial run, no one was flagged, so that was good. And then randomly, Evan said, hey, do you know this man named Clarence Thacker? Because somehow he has a connection to him. And I was like, actually, I do. So then Evan got in contact with Clarence, and then me and Clarence talked about it. And from there, things just flew off.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now let's go. So you figured out who we play for is out there. We're doing this thing where we're going around, we're giving people EKGs. Yeah. So this comes up to you, Clarence. What was your first thought when you heard this? I mean, was this something crazy when you first thought of, or were you like, oh no, maybe this is something we actually should get on board with?
No, I actually played sports in high school. I graduated from Osceola High School in Osceola County and have lived here all my life. My kids were all athletes and all played. Megan was the athletic trainer when all three of my kids, I believe, went through OHS. So we've been around her at about 3,000 sporting events over time. So it really came about a very strange way. I was at a community event, and the event had gotten over, and there were a whole bunch of us just kind of gathered outside after the event, and it was probably midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was talking to a lady that I knew that actually worked for the county, and she introduced me to her husband, who's Laird McLean. He happens to be the coach that was involved with this tragic accident in Brevard County. So we talked about, it was really interesting to me. I was on the school board. I was a high school athlete, student athlete. And, you always see and read tragedies when they happen. They make the news everywhere. So they started talking about it. He asked if I would talk to Evan and learn what this was all about. So we connected within the next couple of days and had a couple of conversations. He actually came to my office and we sat down. And the first thing I thought is, how in the world could we ever afford to do this? I mean, it's not rocket science. This is a brilliant idea, but we started going through on ways that we could afford it. it all kind of started to make sense and come together. So we brought it to the school board, and the school board jumped right in. All 5 members of the school board and the superintendent says this is a great idea. Interestingly enough, we tried to offer it the students who could pay. We asked them to pay. We provided that no student would not be able to have this that was going to play. So we moved forward in that manner. We've had, I don't know, somewhere close to 50 cases in Osceola County, and including Ashley. We've had some that we know, whether it would have been on a field or somewhere walking down the street, in their early 20s or something, would have probably had pretty tragic endings that we've been able to catch. So I will tell you, I've been on the school board now for very close to 6 years. And of all the things that we've done or that I've been involved in, this is probably the one nearest and dearest to my heart. It's the little things that make a difference. When this thing started, it certainly wasn't big news anywhere. I believed in this. I still believe in this. The proof is in the pudding a little bit with what we're finding. So I will tell you, I'm extremely proud of what Osceola County has done in our county. And I also think we are leading the way in the state. Brevard has followed suit, and I know there's some others that have talked to me about this. And I think the more of this we can do, any single life we can save has no price tag. So.
Absolutely. So I think I kind of follow up with that. I think a lot of people, when they first hear this, and maybe not just school board members, but just people in general, they hear, oh, we want to do this for all thousands and thousands of kids. It's going to be so difficult to enact a policy like this. Was it that difficult to get this going from your guys' situation?
From the school board perspective? Mm-hmm. No, it was, I can't remember now if it was one meeting where we discussed it, and the second meeting where we had the staff come back and make some recommendation. I can tell you the first discussion we had at the school board meeting, everybody was all in. There wasn't a naysayer among the school board members or the superintendent. So it was actually probably the easiest sell of about anything that's ever happened.
Perfect. That's good to hear. So Rick, let's go to you now to kind of introduce yourself. And then when you heard this policy was going to come through, what were your thoughts on how this was all going to work at your school?
So I'm Rick Tribit. I'm the athletic director at Celebration High School in Osceola County. I spent first 17 years of my career up in Seminole County, and the last I was at Osceola High School for 10 years, and then 1 year in Sarasota County, and then the last 5 here in Osceola again. So it's basically a total of about 33 years that I've coached. And the unfortunate thing is, and I remember my high school coach, who I still to this day lean on for advice and just kind of mentorship. He says in 1990, I want to say it was 97 or 98, there was a young man over at Lake Mary High School who had just gotten back for wrestling from football. And as I said to Evan earlier, he didn't wrestle for me. I was at Oviedo at the time, but I knew him because I was running the Florida national team and he had been on the trip with us that summer. Great kid. All of my guys got along with him really well. He did a quarter-mile warm-up lap and dropped dead on the track. Undiagnosed valve issue with his heart. So, without sounding overly critical, there used to be a lot of loopholes to being able to get a physical. You could go at one point, you can still go to chiropractors. You can go to, we do basically cattle call style physical nights for kids that can't afford, don't have insurance, can't afford to go to the doctor. And sometimes we're pushing. The first year we enacted this policy in Osceola County, we put 357 kids through physical night at CHS. To date, we have tested over 800 athletes at our school alone. That's 800 athletes, and we didn't have a physical night this year because of COVID. So that number, I'm certain would be up over 1,000 now if we had a physical night. But at any rate, if you coach long enough, unfortunately, you're going to see some stuff that you would never wish on anyone. And I've had a kid laying in my lap when he lost his life. And that's something that just sticks with you. Megan and I worked together at Osceola for a lot of years. And when she and Jim started talking about it, we were having discussions with it, the athletic directors meetings. And like Mr. Thacker said, it wasn't a real long drawn out discussion. We knew immediately it was the right thing to do. The thing that we were a little concerned about, if you know anything about the demographics of Osceola County, there's a lot of migrant farm worker kids that go to school here. I'm in Celebration, which is probably one of the more wealthy areas in the county, and 40% of our kids live in hotels along 192. We have the largest percentage of fit kids in the district. So the thing that I was concerned about was this is obviously a great program, and it's especially important for the kids that I just described that don't have access to great medical care. The question is, how do we make it affordable? When the district stepped up and said, we're going to do this, and we're going to make sure that no kid gets left behind, and we're going to make sure we test all of our kids, and it was an easy decision. And we've, as you're going to find out here pretty quickly, we've been fortunate. We haven't had a lot of red card issues. I think half a dozen, but we did get one with an incoming freshman this year. And I'm sitting on the couch watching television with my wife, and I get a text message from my swim coach saying, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know this is what happened." And I just got a text from the family, and I just, wow, stopped. And my wife is a former athletic trainer. She worked at UCF and Florida Southern and Temple, and when I told her that story, she's just like, you know what? You can go an entire career and not hear a story like that, and and always wonder, like Megan said, always wonder. The wheels are always turning, always going around in your head. You're always thinking worst case scenario. So to have the district get behind this, and Dr. Pace and the school board get behind this, I think sends a strong message to our families, especially, we're talking about whether or not we're going to have sports now because of COVID. And I think this sends a strong message that we are concerned about your kids as much as you are. And like I said, I can tell you personally from my personal experience that, it means a lot to be able to offer programs that are going to make sure those kids are as healthy as possible.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I know it's a little emotional and hard to tell, but I think it's a perfect leeway into introducing now the Scarboroughs. If you guys want to introduce yourselves and then talk about how this has kind of changed your lives. I mean, you caught something you probably wouldn't have known you had, and now things might have changed a little bit, but it's probably better So why don't you guys go ahead and talk about that?
I'm Shauna Scarborough. This is Ashlyn.
I'm Mike.
And Ashlyn she'll be going, she's an incoming freshman going to Harmony High School. And she's played flag football pretty much, since she was 7 or 8. Very active, healthy, never a concern, especially with her heart, of all things. And so as an incoming freshman, we went to the physical night at Harmony at the time they were able to have it safely. And to be honest and totally transparent, I was one of those parents who was like, okay, yeah, we got to get this EKG done, just part of the physical, because, you assume it's never going to be my kid. And it turned out to be my kid. I'm a little emotional. Anyway, she went to get the EKG done. And it actually took her a little bit longer than her friends. Her friends were in and out, and I thought, oh, typical Ashlyn, she's a little extra sometimes. She's sassy for us. But she got the phone call from Sean Sema, who we are extremely grateful for. And he left a message saying that there was an abnormal reading in her EKG. And I was like, oh, it's just because it took a while, I'm sure it's not right, just not believing that she could have any problem whatsoever. Because, she would get the regular physicals every year from the school, and she also played with Pop Warner, and they do physicals there as well. So there was never a question at all, anything with her. So I get the call from Sean. I spoke to him on a Monday, and he explained to me that her abnormal reading was coming back as Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. And of course, I knew nothing about it. And I was like, this is crazy. This just must be because something was wrong with the EKG. And, of course, I listened to him and I was in shock. Like, what do I do next? But with the organization who we play for, they just really arranged everything for us. They set us up with the next day with an appointment with Dr. Dedlani over at Nemours in Lake Nona. And he was absolutely wonderful for her cardiologist. And she had an EKG, a stress test, and echocardiogram, all of it. And throughout all of her tests, the WPW was present the entire time. So her delta wave did not go away. And from there, I think it was that week as well, Thursday or Friday, we got set up with Dr. Tribit, the electrophysiologist, and also Dr. Delani referred us to him as well. And again, her EKG, constant reading of the delta wave, and we set her up for her ablation procedure. So, and she had her ablation, and Dr. Tribet was shocked. She actually had 3 extra electrical pathways, and they were able to successfully ablate 2 of them. And the 3rd one is in a dangerous spot that they couldn't get to, but it's not producing any problems with her heart. But the doctor said that she was at severe risk for sudden cardiac death.
Wow. So. Ashlyn, what do you think about that? I mean, is it crazy that that's going on inside you?
Yeah, because I've always had these kind of rapid heartbeats that would happen sometimes, but we never really thought anything of it. And so when I put my number in for the person to call, and so when I got the call, I was like, oh, what? Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit nervous because football is a big part of my life, and I didn't want to just have to let it go. So I thought I wasn't going to be able to play football, so I was ready for the ablation immediately.
Yeah.
And so I was nervous when the ablation day came. I was pretty nervous just because
we all were.
I didn't know I was scared of waking up or something. But yeah, it's crazy because I never thought I'd have a heart problem or anything.
Yeah, her brother also has played sports almost his entire life as well, and he got the EKG last year because he was a senior at Harmony High School, and his EKG was fine. So, and both Mike and I, we've never had an EKG honestly, so we don't really know if we carry any of that WPW gene or not, but yeah, it's definitely been eye-opening for us, to know that, yes, it happened to us. And I am so thankful for Osceola County, for you guys and everybody who is involved in that decision, because it saved her life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys also for sharing your story. So kind of to wrap things up here, everyone did great. Thank you guys all so much for doing this again tonight. I know in the middle of dinner time and everything like that. Everyone's busy. Well, maybe not too busy. I mean, everything's still shut down, at least here. So thank you guys all for doing this. To close everything, we always like to ask everyone who comes on, when we came up with the name Who We Play For, we were doing it because we all have a rhyme or reason behind everything we do, whether it's teaching, you're playing sports, whatever, you're doing it for somebody else. And that's what kind of keeps you going. So we want to ask you guys, in the same order, if you want to go ahead. Megan, first of all, who do you play for?
I'm going to say 2. I play for 2 things. I play for all the athletes I've had in my career that I've taken care of. I love them all like family. And then I played for Keely Dorsey, who we lost at USF.
Okay. Clarence, you want to go?
I play for all students to have a blast competing.
Perfect. Right?
For every coach, teacher, mentor I've ever had that's helped me get to where I am today, because, I always knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew I wanted to be an athlete, and there were people who believed in me when I didn't. And so now I'm paying it back.
Okay, perfect. And finally, what about you, Scarborough? Do you guys have someone you're playing for yet?
Well, I play for the kids who like are doing sports and don't know they have a heart problem, and that could just anything bad could suddenly happen.
I play for the parents
Yes.
who that it could never happen to them or their child.
And the other thing that I'll just add to all this is this condition also transposes just sports too. I mean, as kids get older, you don't want to think about it too much, but as parents, they go on to college, or even as adults, and alcoholic beverages come into play, and they can have a real effect. That's why catching this early at this age and the program that Osceola County has put forth is just tremendous. I mean, I can't say enough about it.
Now she can live basically her normal life as she was before. She can go right back to playing sports, and it's amazing really what can be done. Yeah.
It's amazing something that critical can be fixed.
Yes.
That
Exactly.
is.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you guys all did so good. Thank you guys all for sharing your stories and everything. Again, so this is all live right now on our Who We Play For Facebook page, and then we'll share it later. It'll be shared across all our platforms and stuff. So if you guys want to go back and watch yourselves, see what you said, you can go ahead. No, you don't. That's okay. But yeah, it'll be live. It'll be shared and stuff. So if you want to share it, go ahead. But other than that, that's it. Thank you guys all so much for doing this tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
Good job,
All right.
Ashley.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye,
Thank
you guys.
All right.
Bye.